Day 224 looks like a whopper, so strap in. We'll see how many voiceover sessions it takes me to get through with it. So it looks like what I've done here. Wow, this is March 19th, so today is June 4th. And so I have a feeling, although it's middle of March in my writing, definitely some changes are coming based on the stuff that I was working out in that idea document. So it's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, trying to, I think, work in some new ideas and then work on the relationship between Hogan and Holly as that gets going. And there could be some, as they used to say, candy and surprises, although there will be no candy. So Lexi said, yeah, he's the one. Lexi's like playing matchmaker. Holly is not so sure about this. Hogan is somewhat infatuated with her. The question is, why? Is there some particular reason? Is he hard up for a date? Or is there something more? We'll have to see. And so I want to make him a little offbeat, not quite goofy, kind of, I guess not really starstruck, but like he sees her and he's like, wow. And then he tries to be funny, and it's not really dad jokes, hopefully, but it's just like not super connecting. Although I think from the beginning, she sees something in him, and I don't know how that's possible, but more. So obviously, when Holly says more rugged than cute, that's like the signs that, okay, yeah, she is seeing something. Okay, so here's, I think, where the changes are going to come about. And part of the reason that I did this, I don't really think part of it was to split Abby and Luke up necessarily, not break them up like a couple, but split them up. I think I had, it's definitely the timeline that I need to work out. And also, I think having Abby by herself will bring the occasion maybe for some more action, some more, I should say, not talking. When you think about it, if you care to think about it, when you've got characters totally by themselves, it's a lot easier not to have them talk because you have them talking to themselves, or obviously they could be on a phone call or something, but characters talking to themselves, I'm not a big fan of. Sometimes you'll mutter something under your breath like, what do I do now? Where do I go now? But, doing a monologue to yourself is usually kind of lame unless you've set it up earlier. So that's kind of what I guess I wasn't really paying attention. But so Hogan is again, he's trying to find out what the relationship between is, all of these, kind of to find out who Holly is, learn more about her. And Lexi is, he's up here all alone. And so trying to get kind of that little, not even sexual tension at this point, but kind of an interplay. So the audience is saying, yeah, this Hogan, he's kind of a little strange, but kind of, a ruggedly nice looking guy and whatever. Great bass fishing, peaks. So Abby, obviously, this gives us the sense that, or it's going to, that Abby, unlike what I've had up till now, Abby is like, not so much on the fishing. That's kind of my thought. Sees that Luke is interested. Come on. can tell. What am I going to change it to? Come on. Think of that word. There we go. All right. Big change. Bang, bang, bang. Big change. Big change. And then, so, after you write a new idea, and I didn't, you don't think out through all the details. So the question is, do you write out those details and you beat them out, so to speak, in the outline, the treatment, the index cards? Or do you jump into the script? That's what I do. And then see how it works out. Because, again, to me, justifying it, it's a lot easier to write dialogue in a script than it is in an outline, because sometimes it can get lost. And obviously this way you've got it instantly formatted. And so you get a new idea, then you plug it in and you start seeing if it works. Just like anything else, you get the idea and you can think about it a lot. You can dream about it. You can outline it. But at some point, you got to start building the house, so to speak, or you got to go back and remodel the house instead of just thinking about it. So that's kind of what I am doing here. And then Hogan is still probing to find out who exactly Holly is. And he still hasn't hit on it. And he does have his reasons. He certainly has his reasons. Take a left before you can't miss it. I think that would be okay. Lexi's not really a joker, but, relieve a little anxiety probably that she's feeling. And that's kind of what that's all about. So, we're at 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm yawning. Not a good sign. So we're establishing Abby's going to stay in the car. And then, is she going to get curious and maybe go up to the house, the cabin where it's taking place? And will something happen to her? Will she fall asleep? Will she go out and drive somewhere? Will she decide to... will she get bored after a certain amount of time and go want to find Luke and Hogan fishing, or exactly what? So, sometimes the top of 46, Lexi is like on the nose. She's a deputy U.S. Marshal, whispered in his ear. And then my take on what she says next is, I know, right? Like, wah, wah, wah. So just a thought. Radio's all the company I need. And obviously that's probably needs to change, because these kids these days, it would be my phone or whatever, my MP3 player. It's amazing how there have been scripts that I've tucked away for a while or a long while, and then you get them out and you're like, oh my gosh, the technology has changed. Just anything with a phone call, of course, back in the days of dialing, or a corded phone, which would really be old, but telephone booth, that sort of thing. So Hogan and Luke are off. Abby's at the car. Oh my goodness. And the three of them are on their way to Tree House Loft. Relation. Yeah, I wanted to find out who had talked about relationships. Have to go with you or wait outside, if I may. So Lexi's kind of, as she said, having third, fourth, and fifth thoughts. So that's kind of what I'm wondering, is if Jake is going to be not really so bold, but would he say, well, I don't know you that well. I've only known you for 2 or 3 hours, but if I were you, or best case, da-da-da-da-da, would you both come in at least for a minute? When the water says next and the door opens, it will wait. And I don't know if she would have to re-ask that question about wanting them to go in, because she's basically already said, I want you to come with me. And so I don't know that that's really necessary. All right, so they go in, they meet her. Rachel is putting on an act, and it'll be interesting to hear. Present day, I must say, ooh, would that be a spoiler? Maybe it'll be a spoiler, but let me just say, when people do read the script, it'll be interesting to find out how they perceive Rachel after we saw her at the very beginning. She was kind of a jerk, and then we heard her in conversations a little bit with Holly where she was kind of being, gosh, 3 yawns in like 4 minutes. What in the world? Where Rachel was being kind of smarmy and making her look, oh, you've done so much for me. And so now she's obviously putting on an act, but I guess my point was that will the audience immediately look at her and say, nah, I don't like her. I'm just how, that is with characters sometimes, for better or worse. They could be smirking. They could be, gosh, I just saw Top Gun Maverick yesterday. Great movie, and this isn't a but. The guy, I forgot his call name, but man, he almost always had a smirk. I think they cast him. I mean, he was a fine actor and everything, obviously a good looking guy, which is how most of those roles are cast. But he just almost had a permanent smirk on his face, and he wasn't really dislikable, but wow. But I guess he used it to his advantage at some points. But yeah, that was crazy. All right, so now it's changed. The good thing is, with Hogan and Luke only headed to the creek, there's a lot less dialogue, which is a good thing. And Abby in the car by herself, obviously there's going to be a lot less dialogue. And then she's wondering, I mean, again, this is old, keys in the ignition, which tells you the car is X amount of years old, not like it's super old, but it's 5, 6, 7 years old. And then would she need the keys to listen to the radio? Well, no, because she'll have her phone with you. But now she gets the keys and she hurries towards the path. So she's probably been sitting in there 5-ish minutes, and already she is either growing restless or just, thinking, I want to see what's going on up there. Getting notifications on my phone. Your script's just been sold. Just kidding. I did touch base with the producer that I'm going to send this to, but I didn't mention this specifically. But enough about that. Combining when we're done, we won't be far, of course. Be too careful. So this really hasn't changed. Little odds and ends. Your father's men. I mean, Rachel says that totally out of the blue, totally on purpose to get Lexi thinking that way. And I think if Lexi heard that, she would be like, what in the blippity blip? So we'll have to see. Although, I mean, it's not bad, because it is definitely a psychological warfare on Rachel's part. As the cloth travels from the bottle to her face. Yeah, I can't believe I haven't replaced that line. I mean, I do like that. Rachel looks like him like it's the first thing he's ever smart thing. I guess that should be the first smart thing she's ever heard him say, because, we don't know how long they've known each other. I believe that given the short notice, she just sort of kind of went on Craigslist and looked up thugs or something There's really no indication how she knows these two. Uh, and I don't know how you would find, that's a good question, how you would find a couple of guys willing to do something like this. And maybe that needs to be explored a little bit. I don't know that it matters at all. And sometimes you can definitely overthink these things. Okay, so they're fishing. Luke, obviously not the great fisher that maybe he appears to be. And then, yeah, right here, I searched. Yeah, I don't know what made me think of this, but Stephen Wright had that comment about. I just thought Hogan would say something not like directly demeaning, but sort of kind of demeaning. It's gosh, it's so funny how you think of those things. And if I was doing voiceover live, I'm sure I could remember, but gosh, that's so interesting because I know that I didn't know that line before. Maybe it was, I might have Googled something about jokes about fishing. I think that's what I did because I mean, I know who Stephen Wright is and I've heard him, but I certainly would not have memorized that line nor known that he said anything like that. So I must have Googled something. So now they're trying to make a bargain here. Again, as petty as this seems, is this little subplot worth 6 lines of dialogue, 5 lines of dialogue? It kind of shows you that Hogan is really not desperate, but certainly, wants to know. But then the flip side of that is, wouldn't he already have Holly's phone number if Holly called, made a reservation? But maybe she did it online. So, gosh, this is silly. Yawning, sorry. What did I just say about people talking to themselves? And here we have Abby doing it. And what am I doing? I guess, do you say that to yourself often unless you're in a movie? I guess I'm just thinking myself sitting at my desk at work and just saying, what am I doing? Well, maybe. Regardless, so she goes up there, and as she's about to, not break in, but take the next step literally. What in the world? I thought I had plenty of sleep last night. So the door opens, people are coming out, it's the classic thing. She has to duck behind a tree. She has to hide and make sure she's not seen. And then you've got, some off-screen dialogue. And so the audience is hearing what Abby's hearing. What exactly do we want her to hear that's either going to make her befuddled, like, I don't know for sure what's going on, if this is even the cabin they're in, where these voices are coming from. And so, how much clarity to give as opposed to raising the stakes, etc. So the other thing is, if this is going to be about 105 pages, 100 and whatever, then we are just past the halfway point. And so you could argue this is sort of bad guys close in is beginning to start. Because it's interesting, and I actually thought about this while we were watching Maverick. Not a lot. And I don't know if you do that while you're watching a movie. Certainly, if you've seen it before, especially if you've seen it several times and you're watching it again, you might think, look, the catalyst, the inciting incident. Here, oh, here's the second act. This is halfway point. If you're following Blake, and even if you're not, I mean, the basic tenets kind of still hold true. After the halfway point, and you've got some false victory, false defeat, and then you've got basically 20, 25-ish, 30 pages of what happens there. I mean, the bad guys start to close in, and it's not literally always bad guys, but the situation is unraveling. Things starting to go wrong after they had seemed to go right. Because then you have All Is Lost, and then Night of the Dark Soul, or Dark Night of the Soul. And when you think of that taking up 25 or more pages, I mean, that's quite a bit. And so I think I always wondered, gosh, am I going to have enough to cover all of this? And I almost always do, but I guess you can sort of let the script breathe in these areas too, in this part of the story. So she hears some stuff, and again, this is kind of virgin writing, so I'm thinking about how closely am I going to follow kind of my mini outline, which wasn't really an outline, it was just kind of some ideas, and am I going to follow that exactly? Because as you start writing, it's usually like, I don't know. Sorry, moving a piece of paper around. Okay. So Abby goes up because she didn't really see enough, because as you see there, it's off screen, the dialogue. So she hasn't really seen enough to know for sure what's going on, but she probably has kind of obviously she has some idea that, hey, something is not right here. Something's fishy in Denmark, if you will. So that is kind of obviously why she still had to go up to the house after the others left. And so now, what's going to happen? No, that wasn't me yawning. I don't know. This is weird. So that kind of leads us in, right? Whenever you see, and she doesn't even have to say, call Luke. Although the reason I think I had her do that is to give her something to do before she started moving up toward where the others have started off for. Luke has fortunately got a fish on the line. I like that imagery of the line tearing the surface in a zigzag pattern. I don't know that I'll keep that, but it's kind of neat. I was trying to get some subtext into that. I know it's tempting, but you got to wait him out. Hogan's line. Dang it. I think it can be more fun when people say like a soft core version of a swear word. All right, so he's talking to Abby. Abby's telling him what's going on. Don't know about that dinner line. So this was a little tricky. So you got Clyde and Ace, each of them carrying a body, basically, and you've got Rachel walking with them. So you have three people walking. Two of them are big to begin with, and so they've each got 120 to 160 pounds, whatever. So how much, depending on the underbrush and kind of what the woods is like, how big, not how big, but how defined of a track would they leave? And how easy or hard would it be for Abby to follow them? So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Too much, not that I'm accusing myself of doing this, but I don't want to get into the too much question and answer stuff. Make it like a police procedural. I did have to check to see, but my phone has a compass, so I assume phones do. So they're all right, yeah. So Hogan and Luke went to the cabin. So that end of Act 1, I hit the wrong control key, shortcut key. The classic phone makes a sound and people, it's like The Quiet Place. Oh, this is a whole helicopter question. Oh, this is a whole helicopter question. It's a budget. It's funny, people will say, don't ever write with a budget in mind because then you'll stifle yourself creatively. But I don't believe that. I mean, if you're writing a 100% spec script, like I'm reading a script right now that a guy's written, very good script. I mean, it's not, well, yeah, I would say it's very good. It's millions of dollars to make, and that's fine. I don't know what sort of success he'll have getting it to someone, and I've written some big budget stuff too, but to say that you should never write with a budget in mind, I mean, why would someone even say that? They say, oh, it stifles your creativity, but then this business is about selling scripts and getting stuff made and making some money so you can do it again, and then maybe eventually you can write your big epic opus or whatever. But I don't think there's anything wrong, and not that I'm going to make this myself, but I mean, if we are going to go on location, now I'll do a little